Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? Normally I'd say you know who's with me, but my boy Eric is taking a sabbatical or break right now. Other things are going on in his life right now, and he doesn't really have the time to make videos with me. So with that said, on with the show. Today's video, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons D1 Sent into the Depths of the Earth, a non-spoiler. So I wanted to start talking about the Underdark, and um, but I couldn't get to it until I did a non-spoiler review for D1 because this is where the Underdark really started to take place. And even though Forgotten Realms and the Drow really put it on the map, but this is the origins for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Not going into the white box and everything else, but for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, this was the tournament module that started it all and showed DMs that they could, have adventures underground, and this module was a tool to help them develop their own. All right, descent into the depths of the earth. So this is the background you're going to find into the module, and I thought this was fine for the non-spoiler review, and to give those who never had a chance to play, maybe to have some interest in playing this, even if they don't want to play against the giants. So, here we go. Background: the final confrontation with the Giant King, and the entry of the mighty adventurers into the camp under his stronghold. Module 1, 2, against the giants. Typo. Discovered that the Dark Elves, the Drow, had instigated the Giants' alliance and its warfare upon mankind and its allied races. A number of these evil elves fell before the onslaught of the party of adventurers. Many of the important drow fled away to the northwest. The escape route, a seemingly natural passage, full 30 feet wide, extending endlessly under the earth. Investigation of this area, cloaked by a steep river of lava, revealed that the passage ran due northwest, slowly descending ever deeper into the bowels of the A pair of hosts on either side of the river of the lava enabled the party members to safely move supplies, equipment, and even mules across this dangerous area without any difficulty. Um, this artwork is when they combined D1 and D2 together, and so the cover of that module. But I've always enjoyed this drow art. Okay, so the trail leads to the underground. Like, come with me to our doom. All right. Pursuit of these creatures is necessary for their unload. Unless their location and strengths are known, Drow can continue to strike where and whenever they feel like without fear of counterattack or reprisal. Fortunately, the party discovered a map of the maze of the tunnel underneath the earth, hundreds of miles of passages, areas shaded and marked with cryptic symbols, and what is most probably the course of an underground river. I don't know why they made a point of making it. But such an expedition will certainly require the utmost thought and care, planning, and preparation. How many people should be comprised of the expedition? How will they be supplied and equipped? And what of drinking water? Perhaps certain the elven folks will help, for the drow besmirched, I haven't heard that term in a long time, and stained their race. And such aid, whether in magical items, personal, or both, might well provide the difference between success for failure, life and death. For those know, wait a minute, for who knows who or what will be encountered in this gloomy underground world. How will the monstrous opponent sure to be dealt with and defeated? Questions and more will be answered before the party sets forth on its descent into the depths of the earth. So, at the end of G3, the party has enough information to go back to Yeomandry and to report to the king and let him know it's like, okay, we've dealt with the giants, we found out who's behind it, and it's the Drow, and we don't know why. At that point, the player characters can restock. Um, at There's most likely will be some elven counselors there, and once they find out it is a Drow, they'll also will be concerned. And at this point, um, you can give out minor magical items and equip the party. Like let them go through the player's handbook and gather up whatever equipment, and that will be on the king because he wants them to further investigate. All right, let's move on. The choice is yours, just like I was talking about. So this is actually in there, but not the subtitle. Unlike the expedition against the giants, no compulsion is placed upon the adventurers to undertake this journey. While it is voluntary, there is possible cooperation from avenging elves eager to wipe out the drow. The going will be hard, interference of unexpected sources likely, and return journey could be a nightmare if the party is unconscious in its descent, seriously weakened along the way, or hotly pursued on the way back. If the goal is scored of leagues distance, the trip must be thought of as going and returning both. The wise will not act harshly. Dot dot dot. So sometimes I think player characters don't know when it's time to stop and recuperate and in some cases go back and get more supplies. And then I've had one group who did that almost all the time. It got super annoying because there was a small village nearby. Every time they got jacked up so bad, they would just run back there, and then we'd have to spend part of the session of them getting back, going back to where they came from. So that won't happen here into Descent. Like once you go in, these are your supplies. If you run out, um, what this is saying is that the DM is pretty much encouraged to harass the party ruthlessly, depending on who they encounter before they leave. And this module is a hack and slash, and we're going to get into that. All right, so the drow must pay. So if you do decide to start, and this is your decision, and after you've equipped, um, the king will let you again take as much as you want. Also encourage your players before they go down because it's not like there's a time limit on this one for them to buy scrolls, write down first level scrolls. This is your chance to look at the DM's guide and kind of look at the time limit and just increase it to where it's faster for them to do the. You can justify it by saying that with higher level wizards and a more advanced lab, you're able to produce this stuff quicker, or just have some of these like first and second level spell scrolls the king will give to them to help them out. All right, so let's start. The passage from the cavern beneath the hall of the King's Iron Belly runs northwest roughly and twisting 12 to 16 width for some 300 yards. Then it suddenly widens to 30 and more in places obviously and goes almost perfectly northwest, slowly in gentle slopes and by natural terraces. A large scale map of the whole underground complex in conjunction with the piece showing the three widths of the passage on subsequent travel and exploration. That's a note for the DM, but I thought I'd just put it in there anyways. So when you put this map out and you start drawing it, you want to have like images of vast caverns and big passages, so the players know that what they're getting into, and it adds that extra I guess the word ambiance. If Eric was here, he'd have a better word, but um this scenery and images that you show the player characters will help them immerse into the story. Okay. Also place place the party near the center passage of the appropriate width, turning the section desired. Whenever a random encounter occurs, you will note that the sample section, however, these faults, spurs, split rubble, small cave areas, sinkholes, crevices, columns, stalactites, stalagmites. Most areas are damp and dripping. There are occasional pools, rivets, and streams. The rock is of all colors, although gray, brown, and yellow tan are most common. Part of the route are worked, but much of the tunnel will be natural passages, caves, galleries, etc. The route will always descend. Fortunately, the darkness is not total, for there are sometimes patches of fluorescent lichen to light the way with a faint glow, almost like fairy fire. There is also swarms of fire beetles now and again, and their glowing abdomens shed significant light to see clearly. Cave bats will flutter overhead periodically. Huge, ugly things which have forsaken the clean air of the upper world for the foul atmosphere of the subterranean. Should the party ever remain still and listen, they will note the many strange sounds, twigs, twittering, squeaking, rattling, various and sun-dried, tiny noises will be heard. Noises which are disturbing despite their muted sound. Now and again, the dark, damp, cold air can be felt, moving downwards and bearing a musty scent throughout the corridors of this dismal world. And this is something you should be reading to the player characters, along with showing as many images that you feel are appropriate. And as they are walking, every now and then, just ask them to make a perception roll. And even if they roll like a 20 and they get all excited, you could just tell them you just feel like you're being watched. Don't know by what. And you can have like these like small little um holes up in the ceiling where if they do roll that 20 and you really don't have anything there, but you just want to like every now and then mess with them in a sense, like to keep them on their toes, you feel like tell them that there is something in that hole in the darkness watching them. And whatever creature you want to decide, they could just be bats or whatever, but could be a were rat for all you know. I mean, that's a good time to improvise. Um, these are the little things that you can add in to improve. Make them walk and like have to cross bridges, rock bridges, or like bridges that have been built by the drows in certain parts. Have passages just constantly going off in different directions, but the well-worn path is straight. And you can have rangers see that wagon tracks have left their trail here. Even though it's stone, some of the wheels over time going the same route will leave little indentures. Just little things you can do. All right, there is no goal in D1. Your goal is to find out where the drows are and see what they're up to. So at this point, your party has heard of the drows, and but they don't really know that much about the information. Like even the regular elves are kind of dismissive because these are the fallen drow, and depending on who you're talking to, they can only give you a little bit of information. You know, you could even give them information that they have spell casting abilities, but by the time of G3, they should already know that. And any weapons that they take back in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, drow weapons were special, and if you brought them into direct sunlight, they it messed with their properties. But if you kept them in chests or bags, you could bring that up to them so that the elves could take a look at them. You know, like there are a lot of possibilities that you can do. But here's a sample encounters. So this is random. So 1 in 10 chance of encountering a wandering monster. And what I loved about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, um, and I'm talking like first and second edition, was the wandering monster table because you never knew what you were going to find. And as you can see here, I chose the Beholder because that's one of the things you can can bump into. So roll the one. You go, okay, I'm gonna make a roll, and you roll in front of them, and they roll the one. You're like, okay, and then behind them, or you still show them because they're not gonna be able to see this. Um, and you can also alter this list. You roll a dice, and then you see what they find. Drow Patrol males, giant slug, 50% chance. You're like, okay, cool, they can handle that. Purple worm, that becomes more interesting. Now remember, they should be, if they started off around ninth in G1 or close to that, or 8th, I don't recommend anything lower than that. They should be about 12th or 13th level. So they will be able to handle even the Beholder, but it's going to be a rough fight. Number 3, 1 through 4 trolls, 9 through 16 troglodytes. Number 4, some of these will be very like they're just going to chop right through. 2 to 5 gas with only 9 to 16 troglodytes. Yeah, that's going to chop them up real quick. 50% chance of a rust monster. Yeah, all you armored fighters better run. 2 to 5 beetles, 50% chance, and 6 if you roll a drow merchant small train. Number 7, female patrol drow. Number 8 is a beholder 50% of the time, or 50%. The other 50 is fire beetle. So it's up to you, 1 to 50 holder, or 50, 1 through 100. Um, gas spores 50%, fire beetles 50%. Random encounters were also brutal because you had to rest for 8 hours, and the DM, like myself, would usually roll once if anything happened during the middle of that. So if you're trying to rest up and a beholder falls upon you, well, you're in trouble. Or you get surprised by the next one, which is number 11. You get surprised by shadows. That's not good. So it's 50% that, 50% fire beetles. Most of the time, you're going to bump into fire beetles, gas spores on number 12, or fire beetles. 13, 3 to 18 gargoyles or fire beetles. 14 is a drow patrol mixed. 15, yellow mold, 30% 3 chance. Brown mold, 33.3, and green. You know what? Besides all that 3 chance thing, I would just take a 6-sided dice. 1 to 2, 4, 5. I mean, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one of those lines you're going to bump into. Make it easier for you. 19, number 16, 19 to 24 bugbears with slaves, which could be useful to you because some of these slaves could have already been in the underground, and they can give you information. Or you can put an NPC who can help balance out the party once he's equipped and rested. 17, drow merchants, again, a large train. Now, they have the charts for all these. And number 18, 2 to 5 were rats with 1 to 2 Lithris, or I know I'm mispronouncing that one wrong, but they're mind flayers. The Elysis, I think that's something like that. Number 19, black pudding. Here we go again. 6-sided dice. So black pudding, orchid jelly, or gray ooze. And the last is a drow patrol mix. So when I say they don't have a true goal, it's like their objective is they're going down. They don't know what to expect, and all they're doing is they're at this point they're trying to look for the drow. They don't know how big the city is, and we're going to get into that when we get into D3. And then they're going to realize that they're kind of helpless and that they should really be in stealth mode at that point. But we'll get to there. Um, the module is massive, and there are a lot of creatures you're going to be fighting. I mean, there's a reason why they show bugbears, troglodytes, and trolls. Oh my! In the pictures because that's the majority of the creatures, and they have other stuff mixed in. So as a DM, if you're for 5th edition and you're converting this, feel free to add in other creatures. And once you look at the map where they're going through, you're going to realize you have a bigger playground. So don't let anybody say this is ever like a sandbox because this is not. This is if you were to see the DM's map, of where they're allowed to go with all the hexes. It's crazy. Like I had a party one time. Um, we spent, I don't know, 2 months before they got out of this module because they didn't even get to the main part to get through to move on to D2, the Shrine of the Kuatoa, because they kept going down all these side passages, and I had to keep making stuff up. I was like, man, I'm gonna kill these guys. So we had some fun times there. It was cool. All right, so here we go. The wrap up, and those are the creatures we're talking about. Um, Bring plenty of supplies, no guarantee of food and water. Easy to become lost, and watch out for cave-ins. I didn't. Last stat I forgot to put in there was the oh, I was actually I pulled it up right now. The Dungeoneer Survival Guide. So this is still a pretty good book that converts to every edition. That's what I like about it. And if you get a chance of getting a free PDF of this or whatever, or you just buy it from whoever, or you just want to, cough up the money on eBay. To me, it's worth it, and it gives you so many tips. Hopefully, Eric and I will get to that, but that's way down the line. I mean, we're trying to wrap up the player's handbook, and then we got a dungeon master's guide, and after that, we'll be doing. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it up to him, but I don't know if he's got the deities in My Guidebook. I might be doing that one solo or else, but either way, if you made it this far and you're enjoying this series, hit the like button. I would love to hear from you guys. Leave a comment below and tell me if you played through this and did any of your player characters or NPC die and how did they die, dude? So, with that, people, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll catch you later.